Hello everyone. Today, we are going to show you about the regulations and taxation issues in the internet. But before that, I am going to introduce these two snappy men, Johnry Barrientos and Jovary Klepano. And now let's begin. At the end of the presentation, you will be able to identify the issues on the regulations in the internet, and describe the pressing issues with internet taxation, regulations of the IT sector, regulation of e-commerce and computer fraud, protecting intellectual property, regulation on pornography on the web, and regulation of e-gambling. First, we have to define internet taxation. Internet taxation refers to taxes applied to internet access fees, or to sales and use of taxes on sales made over the internet. There are two distinct types of proposed taxation in the internet. First is the access tax, and second, sales tax. An access tax, akin to telephone tax, to be paid by individuals, firms, and organizations that connect to the internet, while a sales tax is to be rebated to the states based on residence of the purchaser, on goods and services sold via the web. Government can be drawn into regulation of the IT sector simply by the need to create order. In the idealistic era of the pre-commercial internet, some believe that issues would be settled by professional collegialism and interpersonal networking. Regulation of IT sector includes antitrust action. Under the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890, as well as parallel state laws, it is illegal for corporation to engage in monopolistic conduct, come to price-fixing agreements, or otherwise act in restraint of trade. Both the IBM, when it dominated the IT sector in 1970s, and Microsoft Corporation more recently have come under the antitrust actions brought by the U.S. Department of Justice and by rival firms. The governmental approach to e-commerce in the United States is best described as light touch regulation. The Federal Trade Commission (FTC) has established consumer protection regulations specifically aimed at advertising to consumers and consumer transactions over the internet. Computer crime, also called cybercrime, is the use of a computer as an instrument to further illegal ends, such as fraud and deception, hacking, hate speech, trafficking in child pornography and intellectual property, stealing identities, or violating privacy. In the Philippines, advisory firms calls government for e-commerce regulatory framework as more consumers are engaging in online transactions and purchases due to consistent lockdown restriction caused by the pandemic. Protecting intellectual property. The theft of intellectual property is among the most important categories of computer crime. Theft may occur through electronic hacking, reverse software engineering, and by simple misappropriation of content or code, intentional or otherwise. Much of computer law deals with copyright, patents and trademarks, and other intellectual property issues. The protection of intellectual property is the focus of all that fine print that most users ignore when purchasing software and media product. Public managers have particular reason to be concerned with intellectual property rights for two reasons. First is that the government is the largest purchaser of software and media. Second, users often has the mistaken view that whatever the government own is the public domain, and therefore may be freely appropriated and copied. Regulations of pornography in the web. Internet pornography is any pornography that is accessible over the internet, primarily via websites, FTP servers, peer-to-peer file sharing, or Usenet newsgroups. The regulation of pornography has always been a contentious issue, which has sparked wide-ranging debates surrounding the acceptability and place of pornography in society. The use of internet to distribute and access pornography has magnified this debate and has presented a number of challenges for the law in terms of effective and proportionate regulation. Following unsuccessful attempts by states to transpose traditional laws to cyberspace, a new and radical regulatory framework eventually evolved for regulating pornography. In this process, the focus of the law has changed from merely controlling the publication and distribution of obscene material to a model that aims to deter private consumption of illegal content. In addition, Various self- and go-regulatory initiatives have been introduced with the involvement of non-state actors, imposing a certain degree of de facto liability on intermediaries. There are three major legal statuses that may apply to pornography. First is the obscene materials, which are those that violate contemporary community standards and thus may be censored or prohibited, even from adults. Child pornography is the second status, and material in this category are clearly illegal. Child pornography consists of depiction of sexual acts by minors and lewd display of genitals from minors. The third legal status is obscene for minors, meaning adults have the constitutional rights to view freely such erotic material, although it may be prohibited for minors. Several legislation has been passed by Congress for the protection of children against sexual exploitation. These includes Children's Online Privacy Protection of 1998, Children Internet Protection Act of 2000, and Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act of 2003. Regulations of e-gambling. Internet gambling has already become big business in the full sense of that term. It is an addictive threat to family life, and one that be curtailed through regulation. A fact of life and wishes only that it be properly regulated to ensure age requirements, to minimize fraud, and to ensure the taxes are collected.
There are three main types of real money online gambling sites: online casinos, sportsbooks, and poker rooms. The most popular type of gambling is, perhaps, playing at real money online casinos. Casino sites offer players access to games you usually find at traditional brick-and-mortar casinos. Gaming options at online casinos include slots, table games, video poker, and specialty games. Some sites also offer a live dealer section where you can play in real time. Online sportsbooks are the perfect wagering choice for sports fans. At a sportsbook, you can bet on professional and college events. Football, basketball, baseball, tennis, golf, and MMA are just a few of the many sports on which you can bet. Poker sites are dedicated online poker rooms that offer cash games and tournament action. Online gambling has exploded in the past decade at both regulated and offshore online casinos. If you're a gambler, but just sticking to land-based casinos, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. Although the basics of online casino gambling do not change from one to the other, it's important to understand how they work. In this video, we'll talk about the main differences between regulated and offshore online casinos and which is the best option for you. The first thing you should know is that doors are open at both regulated and offshore casinos if you're an online player. While legal codes vary depending on your jurisdiction, one fact remains: online casino gambling is legal under US federal law. There are some notable differences between regulated and offshore online casinos. It is not only when it comes to location, but regarding legal jurisdictions and their availability to players depending on where you're playing. Let's take a look at each one. Regulated online casinos are those that are licensed within the United States. There's no federal licensing of online gambling sites at this point, whether it be casinos, poker rooms, or sportsbooks. All regulated casinos are licensed on the state level. Casino sites, for now, also operate on the intrastate level. For instance, regulated online casinos in New Jersey can only offer their services to those living in the Garden State or players who are physically located there. Offshore online casinos are sites based in island nations known for gambling licensing, such as Antigua, Curaçao, and Central American countries like Panama and Costa Rica. Most of these countries issue a license for casino sites and have regulatory bodies. One of the main questions that we get asked is about the safety of offshore casinos. It is perfectly safe and legal to deposit and play at offshore casino sites as a resident or citizen in the United States. Let's compare some of the pros and cons for these. Some of the pros of regulated online casinos are that they have the backing of the US legal system for disputes, and their rewards are tied to brick-and-mortar casinos. Cons include that they're not available in all US states, and the bonuses are usually lower. Some of the pros of offshore casinos are that they have significantly higher welcome bonuses, cryptocurrency payment options, and are available in almost every US state. The downside is that not all of them are regulated. That is why it's important to do your research and gamble only at recommended online casinos. You can find a complete list of the best sites on the link in the description below. When it comes to regulated versus offshore online casinos, there is a clear choice. Offshore online casinos win by a landslide. They offer more significant bonuses, are more widely available, and you can play live dealer games along with other high-quality games.
Philippine National Public Key Infrastructure. Public key infrastructure allows users of public network like the internet to exchange private data securely. Public key infrastructure is essentially a set of hardware, software, policies, personnel, and procedures needed to create, manage, distribute, use, store, and revoke digital certificates. The public key infrastructure is one of the core services being offered by the Department of Information and Communication that will foster trust in the government by ensuring secure and reliable online transactions. As a summary, regulations is not a story of government versus business. Strongest pro-regulation voices come from private sector. Regulation seeks to find a middle ground between individual and entrepreneurial freedom. Everywhere policymakers look in cyberspace, there are political issues to resolve. I hope these information helps you a lot. Thank you for listening and have a good day.